Ah. Ha.
Hey,
Hello, mate.
howdy.
How do you do?
I'm trying to sort my lighting out.
See, I've got a different dilemma. I've got too many lights to choose from now. So
I'll see if iMovie has some filters that just make us all look really handsome and tanned and, like we've been living really full lives.
pandemic live.
Hello, boys.
How you doing, mate? You okay?
Hello.
Yeah, not bad.
Do we actually want to see your face, or?
Hey.
Well, that's a cheap shot straight in.
It looks a little bit like that's... Oh, on my screen, Rich is right below me, and it looks like there's one really long guitar going off my wall and into your house, Rich.
That's not a guitar.
For the benefit of the tape, my name's Tom, and I sing most of the singing. That's Rich Beebe. He plays bass and does lots of singing and also piano. Diagonally opposite, we have Mr. Simon Whitehead. He plays all of the electric guitars and the mandolin. And that fella there is Mr. Lee Cole, and he plays the drums and does lots of singing also.
Right.
I've got portable stage lighting tonight. I'm trying to sort out my lighting. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Oh, like the
Yeah,
Tom's had an idea.
I don't have too many of those. I've been really nervous about this. It's stupid, isn't it? For some reason.
Nervous because the veil is going to drop and everyone's going to see you for who you are.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. I share that fear, to be honest. For you.
Well, on that note, so basically what's going to happen is we'll have a go at this, and I'll put it into iMovie and
Edit it.
yeah, delete it. I guess let's go for it. So, hello everyone who's tuned in. Welcome to what we are calling a virtual pint with Young Martyrs. I've known at least one of the band to be entertaining once, so I'm hoping that will happen tonight. It was me, but maybe someone else will do that tonight.
It's good job you had that joke written down, Tom. Otherwise, you would have forgotten it.
All my jokes are written down. all my joke is written down.
I'm drinking. Sound effect.
Oh,
First chop pod vanilla stout.
That sounds good.
Ooh.
I thought you'd be on wine and thought it was odd that you were drinking it out of a can. Solid choice.
I've had a gin and tonic before, and I'll probably move back to wine. So yeah, you're right. It's out of character.
I like it. I am currently drinking Old Tom. Not just because
Your dad's called Tom.
Hey?
Your dad's called Tom.
Yes, Dad. My dad made this. He didn't. It is. How would I describe it? It's 8.5, so it's a bit tasty. But it's not quite a stout, but it's a very, very dark, very thick beer. It's a little bit like an old crafty hen matured, and it's awfully nice. It's like a milkshake in beer form.
I mean, I think you're basically just drinking wine, because surely anything over 8.2 is classified as a wine. That's the one stat I took ages ago from our honeymoon week, a week after we got married, me and my wife, and I went on a tour at the Western cider press place, and they basically said anything over 8.2 is classified as a wine. So there you go.
Oh, I'm impressed. Well, what are you?
Actual knowledge.
Actual.
I mean, I was
knowledge.
going to say, apart from that, I hit things. Better open mine up, haven't I, as soon as everyone's doing that kind of thing. Hop House 13. Hang on, what's the noise?
And you've just taken that out of your very own beer fridge in your very own studio, I take it?
Yes, the fridge that my wife still doesn't approve of, but it's here and it's full of beer.
Yeah, well, I think she'd rather have a fridge in the house for food and stuff, but you had to blow the budget on one just for beer in your studio. So she's
Every
smart.
time she wants butter, she has to go out to the studio to move the beer, all the beer out. To get it back.
I mean, I've compromised. I've put Diet Coke in there for her and some chocolate. So,
You're all
it's
heart.
not just full of beer. I'm a lover, mate. Mr. Beebe, what are you drinking, matey?
You're going to guess it straight away. What am I always drinking? No, I don't mean literally always, as in every waking hour. I just
White
mean
lightning.
on these calls.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, Gem, that's not.
He knew you were going to be recording, so he didn't do the white lightning.
No. Oh, I did, but before.
That was just in the park this afternoon.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, mate, the Gem factory is down the road from where I live. So when the pandemic's over, we'll have to go on they do a tour as well.
I've
We'll
heard,
have to go on that.
Although
You
to
and
be
Rich
fair,
can have a little second honeymoon.
when lockdown eases, it's not at the very top of my list. Meet someone that was probably higher up, but there we are. Sorry, I just put a downer on it, haven't I? Sorry.
I won't invite you anyway, sort of.
We had some questions sent in from our listeners. There's listeners now. A few months ago, we didn't even have a record. And they wanted to ask a few things. So I was going to put some questions to some of you, and you guys can chuck them back and forth between yourselves. Lee, how did we get together, Young Martyrs, that is, not you and me? And what was everyone's musical backgrounds before Young Martyrs? So Lee, tell us a little about yourself. What were you up to before us?
Okay, so before Young Martyrs,
We don't need the
formed,
podcast, just short.
Okay, all right. I was going to say back in 1980. So before Young Martyrs started, I was and still am playing in a functions band. So I've been doing quite a lot of weddings, parties, and clubs, and just playing some mainstream covers, basically. So I've been doing that for a good 6-7 years now. So when the call came along from yourself, Tom, to say you wanted to form this, it fits in really nicely because there's a pandemic and we're not doing anything. So it's a good time filler, isn't it, really? So yeah, I play in a functions band, and prior to that I used to have a band that was original music under the name of My Friend Friday, which is kind of where I met you actually, Tom. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I took from that you joined Young Martyrs because you had nothing better to do last year, which is
Pretty
accurate.
much. I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as the pandemic started, that's it, I'm gone.
Simon, what about
Definitely.
you? Your musical background prior to Young Martyrs?
I'm Simon, I'm 22. So I, prior to Young Martyrs, did a few gigs here and there with singer-songwriters, kind of backing them up and playing a little like acoustic group locally. But I'm haven't really been playing in a band properly for quite a few years. Really, just mainly been doing bits of guitar tuition and gigs through a charity, doing some music mentoring stuff. So I'm quite lucky that my work puts me in line with a lot of music-based stuff, and I get to play guitar and stuff through that a bit. So it's always been pretty dominant. But Young Martyrs is the first proper band thing for quite a few years. So yeah, it's been fun, and pandemic felt like a weird time to do it. But as Lee said, I had nothing better to do really, so I finally gave in.
You're playing down, I think. You've played a lot for charity and been associated with charity. I won't embarrass you too much, but I believe that led to you being the only one of Young Martyrs to have played at the Albert Hall. You have played on stage at the Royal Albert Hall, have you not?
I have, yeah.
So yeah,
it was pretty. Like I was supposed to be there as, like the mentor to the young people. We were like the staff, were like the backing band, and but we don't play the Royal Albert Hall every day. So it was like, okay, yeah, this is quite a big show, sold out. And this song, I started, and it's like pitch black, and like I play the chord and then she sings. So I sort of just set her the key. It's this kind of jazz thing, and it's just that massively nervous moment. I don't get too nervous about playing, but you're just like, is my amp on? Is my volume up? Are my fingers in the right place, like in the dark? Because the lights come up as she starts to sing, and you're just like, go, and you're like, yes, I can hear it. It's all good. And once the band come in and the lights are up, you're okay. But yeah, that was quite a nervous moment. But yeah, I did get to play there, which was pretty amazing, and played some pretty cool venues up and down the country.
Fair play. And Rich, how about you? A little about you.
Yeah. So I immediately before Young Martyrs played in a band called Centerfolds with Tom. It's an originals band, and I was involved with Centerfolds for about 6 years. Although they predated that, they've been going for a while before then. And yeah, originals band, but we decided to call it a day, sort of springtime, I guess it was, last year. And then it all went a bit quiet for a while, and then Tom just said, do you fancy jam? And here we are. So it all happened very quickly after that. But I also play guitar in a covers band, and have done for 2 or 3 years. It's a band called Magpie, or Magpie and the Shiny Things, when we got our horn section as well, which is awesome. And then going back years and years and years, played keyboards in a band long time ago as a sort of late teen, early 20s kind of thing. So yeah, that's me.
You've just kind of done mine for me as well, because obviously I was in a band with you for a long time. So yeah, I've been in. I suppose I've been in bands since I was at school, to various degrees of almost no success. Spent about 13, did a lot of stuff on my own, which is just mainly me putting a PA in the car and driving around the country, playing to complete strangers in pubs all over the place, which was kind of fun and kind of lonely at the same time. But it paid quite well if I wasn't spending it all on speeding fines on the way home. That happened on at least one occasion. And then there was Centerfolds, and we really did a lot of cool stuff. I was in Centerfolds. I formed that band about 13, 14 years ago. And yeah, got to play Glastonbury and got on the radio a few times and stuff like that, and that was really good fun. But it just kind of reached a point where we were all heading in very slightly different directions. Well, apart from me and Rich, who have headed in exactly the same direction, which has been great, which is lucky for me.
I've got another question here from someone else, actually. So shall I strike off with another one? I've got one here, and I'm going to say this one. I'll put it to you first, Simon. How long have you known each other, and how did you meet originally?
Unless Simon's having a stroke, I think his camera's frozen. Are you all right, mate? You don't look so good.
Is he below me?
You're coming and going. I can hear you now, but just can't see you.
That's a good way around.
It looks like you're smiling. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
I'm not. Right, my back?
Yeah, and we
Yes,
can
you're
see
back, buddy.
you clear, so you're good.
Cool.
So I got
you didn't act fast. I was having a stroke. I could have been hospitalised by it.
And we just chose to laugh about it.
I know.
So
at least you were recording it, so we can prove how inhumane you all are.
That's how much we care.
What was the question? How
did you hear my question at all, bro?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I just didn't answer it. I met Tom first many years ago. Not sure how many. 5 or 6, maybe something like that.
Yeah, maybe a bit more.
Ballpark. Okay.
Something like
Actually, through some work stuff that I was potentially going to do with the company Tom was working for, and I think kind of mid-meeting, he just started handing out CDs and just trying to like force them down my throat.
That sounds like Tom.
Because he caught on to the fact I play guitar, I think. Somehow, maybe my nails in the meeting gave it away. We weren't talking about music at all. I can't actually remember how that happened.
No.
But one way or another, we got talking about music. And so I ended up doing a few bits and pieces with Tom, doing some filming stuff. And then I helped Centerfold, your previous band, do a couple of videos, which is where I met Rich. And then you asked me randomly to come to a rehearsal at Mole's where we were playing Prince songs in the sunshine. And I met Lee. What was the second half of that question? How do we meet? And
It was
you
how
love the
long
other
ago?
band members?
I think I've covered that.
And how do you think the rest of the band members will react if you had a stroke? And you kind of know that as well now. So.
Yeah, perfect. My dog's playing hide and seek in the curtain. Where's Reggie? Reggie. Hey, my Reg. Just decided to just hide in the curtains. Hey, Reg.
Mr. Beebe, how long have you known everyone, and how did you all meet originally?
So I met Tom through the same workplace that Simon just mentioned. So I've worked at the same place for many, many years, and Tom did work at the same place for years and years. So we met, you'll correct me, Tom, but I reckon it was probably 2010 or 11 or something.
10.
That we met.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of worked together, not hugely closely together, but kind of were aware of each other, and inevitably the conversation about music came up every day. Yeah, so that's how I met Tom. And then Tom, concurrently, whilst being in Centerfold, also you had a bit of a solo career as well. I'm going to steal some of Lee's thunder now from Lee's answer, but you and Lee would play together sort of as a, clearly not a solo act, but it was in your name, Tom, but Lee would accompany you and backing singing and percussion and so on. And there were a couple of gigs, 2 or 3 gigs, where it was briefly a trio. I joined you for 2 or 3 songs, so I met Lee through that. And then Simon, it was when you were shooting one of the Centerfold videos. That's when I met you. So how about you, Lee?
Well, well, I think the first one I met out of you lot was Tom, and if I remember rightly, I think it was about the same time you met Tom, actually, about 2010. We met at a gig that we were both on the same lineup for Oxjam Festival in Bristol. And I don't know if it's the Cooler anymore, but that was where we were put into. And it was a lovely festival and a really great idea, but unfortunately it wasn't one of their busier venues that we were put in. So I think come the end, after sound checking and playing, we were literally playing to ourselves, and a few people just happened to stroll up Park Street. But we met from there, and I remember saying to my band at the time how good Centerfolds were. We were just stood there watching Tom and Phil, the backing vocals, and combining, and it was just like incredible. So we made really good friends just from that night, really, and then ended up pretty much supporting each other along the way, didn't we, at other venues and places. And really happy memories, like even the birthday gig that we did, me and Martin's birthday double gig. Remember that one at the Tunnels?
Yeah, that was at the Tunnels in Bristol, owned by Gareth Chilcott, who also the England rugby player, who also worked on the door. So,
That's right.
so you pay your money to get in. You'd be paying the.
Always been my dream to own a gig venue and work on the door.
Absolutely, yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was great chat. It was a weird situation to go into a music venue where essentially the security and owner was a former England player and was taking your money at the door. That was good fun. That was good night. Funny acoustics in there, but it was a good night anyway.
And I think we had the double drum kits on the stage, didn't we? For
Yeah.
double drum action, because I came up for some. Yeah, I came up on your set, and I think there was another band support. I think it was In Your Honor. I don't know if you remember them.
No, I can't remember.
They were the band with the 3 girls and the lad on the drums, Nathan.
I don't remember
them at all. Anyway, I mean, they were awesome too. But yeah, we managed to get 2 drum kits set up on stage, all mic'd up, and it was hilarious. I remember it being really good. So we kind of met from that, really. And I guess with you two guys, it's kind of already been said, but obviously with Rich, obviously replacing dear Alex, bless him. That's how I initially got to know you anyway, Rich, was joining Centerfolds and kind of seeing you at so many gigs before getting to properly meet you when we did that that night at Comedia. That's a trio thing. So, and with Simon, yeah, it was the day that we had that rehearsal. We practically did, it was a Prince song and one other song, wasn't it, that we did? And I remember it being Remembrance Day at the time. So I think we ended up all like pretty much turning up late to what we said we were going to turn up anyway.
It was Remembrance Sunday. Yeah, in Moles, and the whole of Bath was shut down, and we were rocking out in Moles' studio. That's right, yeah, with Spence from The Heavy.
Yes.
And I think
did
we play 5 a.m.? I think we had to go at 5 a.m.
It was around that time because you tracked Tell Us So at 5 a.m. by yourself with Deb, and then you'd asked me to play or come up with some guitar stuff bits for it, which I'd done from here, which is largely what's on the record, I think. Because that was pretty much the last time I actually played Tell Us So until like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
When you asked me to play it again.
Tell them that. Because you recorded the guitar bits for the album before this project, didn't you? When it was a different...
Yeah, just out of the blue. You wanted some guitar in it.
Yeah.
Mandolin bits. Have I got the next question?
Yeah, you have. Yeah. Shoot.
Right. Hot in off the press. Rich, this is coming to you first, I think. Your turn at the sacrificial table. Which would you choose? Be forced to dance every time you hear music in public, or sing out loud to every song you hear?
Oh, God.
Big life decision, obviously.
I want to dig a bit deeper into the scenario that has led to this question. What sort of dystopian world are we living in where I have to make that choice?
Imagine that Trump has stayed in and you're living in America in about 3 years' time.
True. Yeah. Oh God. So would I rather I have to dance to every time I hear music, or I have to sing along to every song I hear?
Yeah, loudly.
Oh.
In public.
I'd probably go with the singing. I mean,
I'd definitely go dancing. Because like dancing, you can pretend to not know the song. So if it's really bad, you're just like, I just like dancing. But if it's a really bad song and you just sing it out loud, all of that stuff.
That's true. I mean, either way, you're going to look like a nut job. So, I'm a big fella, and throwing myself around dancing in, willy-nilly, that's not a good idea.
Well, it's a health and safety hazard.
It is. Yeah. You were saying, what do you reckon?
I think I would go dancing, just because I'm thinking practically on this. If you had to sing every time you heard music, and most of the day I've either got the radio on, or at my job I can't get away from music playing, I'd end up with a really sore throat. For that reason, I'd dance and look like an absolute moron.
What's that? Is it The Quiet Place, or In the Quiet Place or something, where they can't, if there's a sound, like some monster tries to eat them, some horror film a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It would basically be like that, so that no one sang or danced. You just have this like silent world, so that you weren't hearing someone like blaring out, you know, Lee shouting Rihanna at the top of his lungs every 2 minutes.
I like the idea of you had to, if just one person had to dance whenever music came on, but it was always the same dance no matter what the music was. So you could be at like a funeral and they'd start doing the conga, presumably on their own, around the room, and everyone's just got to live with it. It's just that's just Dave. He does the conga sometimes.
Yeah. Conga Dave.
So that's what I'd like to see, or a version of A Quiet Place where one of the characters, for no reason that is explained at any point in the movies, can't stop dancing, and just has to do it really, really quietly, but they can't stop moving the whole movie. That's the movie I want to see.
What's the answer for you then, Tom? What would you? Because you're a
Yeah.
I have a job not singing anyway, to be honest. So it's got to be that one. Yeah, in any key. Quite a lot of falsetto happens in this house, because this is lockdown has been great because no one can. Well, I think,
but even then we had to drop "Tell Her So" by a tone just so you could sing it.
that is true. That's true. I can't believe you just revealed
Getting old.
that. You just, I know that. Do you know what that actually worries me? I think I recorded that song, and even on the day that I recorded it, I had difficulty singing it, and I thought I should have done it in a different key. But I was committed by then. We'd already put the guitars down and stuff, so I had no choice. But I don't think I was ever able to sing it in that key. Well, I can, but I can't do anything else for a couple of days after. So yeah, we had to drop it.
So Tom, very simply, what is your writing process?
Copy other people. Is no.
Who's got the next question?
What's my writing process? I don't know. The writing process is. I should have given this some thought, given that I have actually got the questions printed out here. There isn't a process as such. Songs seem to fall into one of two categories for me. There's songs that sort of come to you just like that, and you can sit. It's one of those where you've almost got to drop whatever you're doing and just go and find a quiet room for a minute, because it's really literally coming into your head, and you've just got to like get it down, write it down somewhere, play it through as quickly as possible, record it on your phone, and the whole song could be done in like 15 minutes or something, you know, the bare bones of it anyway. Or I've got songs that I've got a really solid idea for, but I get 2-3 lines into it and somehow run out of steam and write them down and leave it, and I could come back to some of those songs years later and finish them off. And I think either one of those tend to come out pretty good. The only rule that I've got is don't force it. So I can't rush it. If I've got a bit of a song and I've run out of steam and I've pushed it a little bit, but the rest of it just isn't quite coming. If I force the words out, if I just try and get words on a page that rhyme, it's rubbish. It is rubbish. So if it's not coming to me in its entirety, I have to just admit defeat and leave it and walk away from it, and eventually it will come back to it. But I mean, the songs on the album that I'd written the ideas for like over a decade ago, and couldn't ever finish them until we started rehearsing, and somehow something just kind of clicked, and I went back and all the blanks just filled themselves in. So I think like the best times for me is when it just kind of happens and you don't have to think too hard about it. So I don't really have a process as such, but they're the way that I tend to find my way into songs, and my only rule is don't force it, because it's invariably going to be rubbish, really. And on the new album, we will actually have the opportunity to like try writing some stuff together, which is exciting because, you know, we didn't really have the time, well, barely had the time to rehearse the songs full stop, really. We managed, how many rehearsals did we have in total? Like 6 or 7 maybe?
6 or 7, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And I said the first couple we didn't have all the songs yet, so
That's right, yeah.
probably only about like 4 maybe where we actually had all the songs laid out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already got, I mean, the songs that we've really heard for album 2 already have mostly come from Mr. BB as well, which is exciting. So Rich, do you have a particular process when you're writing songs?
Not really. It's a bit like you described it. Normally, for me, it will just happen when I'm least expecting it. It will generally be the music, the notes, or the melody that will come to me. And it comes when you're just sitting there at home, generally with a guitar on your lap, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing, but your fingers just fall into a particular place or a pattern. And then away you go. On a good day, away you go. You know.
There's a really good, I don't know who said it originally, but Foy Vance said it on his podcast a couple episodes ago. The harder I work, the luckier I get. And he was I can't remember who he was talking to at the time, but he was talking about just how he and his guest were talking about how much luck there is involved in making a success out of music. And they were both kind of in agreement, except that he made that point, and I know it's a really old quote, that the more, yes, luck is involved, much in the same way as sometimes a song will come to you, like, you know, out of thin air. But I think the more you give yourself time to do it, or the more you're in the discipline of trying to get the words onto the page, with the practice comes the stuff. I've written a ton of songs. They haven't all been any good, but I think it's just the case of, like, once you get into the habit, they just kind of keep coming. We sort of joked before Christmas about the songs we've already got coming for album 3. So people will be bored of us, but in the next couple of years, maybe. But
I think it's also worth saying about songs on this current album.
It's Lee just trying to sort the goose out off camera.
Yeah. The throat.
There's a weird noise coming from the top of my desk, and I can't work out what it is. It's stopped now, anyway.
There we are.
Come on, continue.
So Tom, yeah, you know, you wrote all the songs on the album, and it was really, you made it really easy for the rest of us, because you just said, look, this is the bait, you know, here's the song, just my voice and an acoustic guitar, and you pretty much just let us fill in the blanks. You know, in a good way. You didn't give us a huge amount of steer, really. You know, this is the key it's in. This is
just fucking play it, I think, were the words.
Stop pussyfooting around. Play it and play it right. That's pretty much.
Yeah, he went all Van Morrison.
Yeah.
You say Van Morrison, I had Father Ted in mind then. Just play the fucking note, Dougal. Thank you, mate. No, it definitely all fell into place, didn't it, when we started playing?
We recorded it in, what, like 4 days or something? 5 days? It was pretty tight.
Most of the parts were done in 4 days. And then we had a couple of little bits we added in after that, but not a lot, really. So most of the album was recorded in 4 days. And, yeah, obviously there was a lot of Seb... shout out to Seb in Defra, who is in Defra, for making it sound awesome. We spent a lot of time mixing and mastering and getting it really right. But I mean, we put that thing together pretty bloody quickly in the end. So,
in a time where people are crying out for some kind of human element and, you know, reaching out to people again, I just love the fact that the recording sounds real, and it sounds like just literally 4 guys just playing, no frills, no spills, you know. I think it does it justice.
No frills, no spills. That's the second album.
Thank you. Good night. Much love.
We had a question sent in from a listener in the West Country by the name of Martin Mucklowe.
Martin Mucklowe, I'm in bed. I don't really have time for this, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I'm up early doing some Dyson distribution and a bit of building work. So anyhow, it's just really not a good use of my time. But anyhow, for what it's worth, Young Martyrs, good band. From the West Country, best in the West. So their new album, would it feature many songs about kind of local towns, people from the West? I mean, not Fred West, obviously. Well, there might be a ballad, the Ballad of Fred West. I mean, he was all right, to be honest. He did some iffy things, but, you know, as a builder, he was top notch. And he could carry 4 bits of 4B2 single-handed. There's only one other person that can do that. And that's my old man. See ya.
Okay. Well, thank you, Martin, for that question. Let's go with the West Country angle. I haven't written any specific songs about the West Country, but I mean, I could. There's, I don't know what can we write about in the West Country. What's your favorite
I mean,
thing?
there's got to be some good ones written already. I mean, I've got a brand new combine harvester.
I was just going to say anything, but not by the Wurzels.
Dirty Diana.
Why is that West Country?
Yeah,
I think, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because in answer to the question, there isn't many particular references to the West Country in the debut album, but that's not to say we can't in the second album, but without being too cliche and just saying drink up the cider and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think back to, it's not necessarily Bristol references, but you remember when Sam Eason did the Bath Songs project?
Yes.
Do you remember when he did that, Tom?
Yeah.
And
when he did a whole thing from the Bath.
Yeah, that's right. So he was given the opportunity to kind of, is it the Royal Theatre from the Bath? I've only just got that.
Yeah.
Delay.
Rubber Ducky Volume 1.
Sorry, Sam.
All jokes aside, I mean, first and foremost, Sam is a phenomenal performer and a lovely guy. And he got given the opportunity to come up with something for the festival. And he came up with Bath Songs, which I had the great pleasure of joining in on and playing on the night as well. And that was obviously taking the history of Bath right back to the grassroots of where it come from and completely focusing just on Bath like that. I don't think we could probably necessarily do that, but I can't see why we couldn't reference anything, but maybe it might be easier to sing from tradition as opposed to, I don't know, what can you sing about in 2021 about the West Country?
I've just had a great idea. We're going to go back to we're going to steal Sam's idea, and we're going to go back. The next album's going to be called Romans, and it's a concept album which will be delivered. We'll record it entirely in togas in the baths, in the centre of Bath Spa, recorded on period sensitive instruments. That's what we'll do. That's it. That's done. Right. Excellent. And Rick, your songs that you wrote for the next album, they can fuck off. Sorted. Great.
I couldn't write anything authentic about the West Country because I'm not from the West Country.
Wait till you're in a toga in the bath. You'll be all over it.
I'm just trying to imagine that now. I don't want to.
Oh, I just did. Lee, you had some additional questions, I think, from your own fan club.
Okay, fine, if that's what you want to call it. From my own fan club, I told my kids about what we were doing, and they thought it would be hilarious to have their say. So I've got quite a few questions to my kids. Archie, my eldest, wants to know, do you have to have a beard to be in Young Martyrs?
Yes.
I got rid of mine, I don't know, about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, you
No
were
one said a
lucky it
word.
was lockdown. You were lucky we didn't see you.
I'd have been out.
Out.
Yeah.
The funniest thing, Tom, is if you shave your beard off, you look like Beck.
So people have said that to me a few times.
My youngest decided to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum with the seriousness of his question and said, what would you rather have, a cat's body with a dog's head or a dog's body with a cat's head?
Tom's already got 3 dogs' bodies.
It's quite breed specific. Like you could have like a Great Dane's head on a cat's body is quite full on.
Yeah, that's true.
Chihuahua's
You try
head
explaining that to my
on a-
6-year-old then.
I will. We'll have another Zoom call in a minute.
Does the size of the head proportionally fit the body? I don't know the answer to this question. Cat's head, dog's body.
Cat's head, dog's body. Rich?
I think I'd probably go the other way around. A nice, soft cat's body. Whatever happens on the front end, I couldn't give a shit about.
We're learning something about you tonight, Rich.
I'm going to join the Tom camp and dog's body.
Again, I'll think practically. Cat's body with dog's head, because cats can climb, dogs can't. Imagine like a bulldog's face with like a Siamese cat's body or something, I don't know.
I can just see it trying to
Imagine
climb
it.
the tree with his head hanging down like this.
What would you rather fight? 1 horse-sized duck or 10 duck-sized horses?
Oh,
Horse-sized duck. I can run away.
he can fly.
Rich?
Surely a horse-sized duck's more intimidating than horses that are only the size of a duck. 10 duck-sized horses, definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's obvious.
Tom, what would you rather fight?
I'm going with the duck-sized horses. No, hang on. The horse-sized. Yeah, the duck. Yeah, that one. What I said.
Do you know what? I'll go with 10 duck-sized horses, because you could probably just flick them away, couldn't you? I don't know.
Ducks aren't like this big.
Some ducks are pretty big.
Well, in that case, then I'll go 1.
All agree that they're not as big as a horse.
That's true.
So, you know,
What else have they got for us?
No, that's them done.
Oh, okay.
I've got 2 more. Young Martyrs, could you do a sea shanty?
Gosh, what now?
I don't think necessarily now. That wasn't in the question. Just could we?
I've done a few sea shanties in my time.
You look like you could be in a sea shanty band, mate.
Well, a good friend of mine's in a sea shanty band, and we used to do a lot of warm-ups and stuff with sea shanties. They're good for like vocal warm-ups.
We look the sort. It's the beards help. But yeah, I'd give it a go.
Album 2 then. End of album 2, yeah?
Yeah. Roman shanties.
Yeah, or maybe it can be like one of those secret tracks that 20 minutes at the end of the album, it just randomly appears. Yeah.
That's actually a pretty good idea. I like that.
Last but certainly not least, Mr. Ryan Curtis wants to know, is Rebel on the Radio your favourite station? Asking for a friend.
No. Of course it is. Of course it is. Absolutely.
They're pretty cool, aren't they?
Rebel on the Radio is... I've known those guys for quite a few years now, actually, part of the Bristol music scene. It's hilarious. It's like listening to your favourite podcast, and it's actually on the radio. It's, yeah, Rebel on the Radio. I'd say that even if I didn't know. Really, really good. Very, very funny. And we've already, in our short time, been on some pretty terrible radio stations. But we've also been on some
Do you
really
want to do some
great ones.
shout-outs, Tom?
If you're watching this, you're one of the great ones. and Rebel on the Radio is one of the great ones.
Yeah. Where can you find them? Is it BCFM, isn't it? BCFM 93.2.
Absolutely,
they're
yeah.
good.
Networking.
I'm all out of questions, so unless anybody else has got any, what can we call this virtual pub?
What was the name of the Zoom invite? Hang on.
The shittest pub in the world.
It
There
could be
you go.
called the farting dog. If we're talking about some actuality this end.
It said invite to the shittest pub ever.
Pub ever. I think the farting dog's got more of a ring to it. Has Reggie let rip over there?
He has done nothing but he's just down here right next to me doing his thing.
Given up on hide and seek then.
He did it one more time, nearly pulled the curtain down.
Gave up because you weren't into it.
Yeah, he's been there for days. You know, I told him I'd come and find him.
The drummer's arms.
The drummer's arm.
When we eventually have made our millions and then gone on to do our projects afterwards, Lee, you need to have a pub called the Drummer's Arms.
I'll make it happen, but until then I can just dream about the drummer's arms. But I mean, yeah, drummer's arms. No, that's pants. It doesn't mean anything, does
Fuck you.
it?
3 musicians and a drummer.
There he is.
I tell you what, why
Counting.
don't we ask?
Counting.
Why don't we ask the listeners what they think?
That's good.
What do you want to call our virtual pub?
We'll get some comments on that. But I like the count in. That's good.
It's either a drummer thing or, you know, Dracula, but
Yeah.
Is on your screen, Tom, is he below me?
Yeah, how did you know that?
He is. Right, stop it. Stop with the drummer jokes.